Hey everyone, John Henry here from School of Trade, and today we're going to be taking a look at a different market that we really don't take a look at this one very much just because it's kind of slow. But we're going to be taking a look at the 10-year notes today. So I just got looking short here, 6 contracts, 127 flat, and then looking back down to the lows of this consolidation, back down to 126.3, and that's kind of where we're looking to take everything off. Just based on this consolidation that we're seeing right now, it may break down a little bit lower and go to an expansion level, but it's hard to say that it's going to happen immediately. And with as slow as this market is, I'm much happier just kind of taking off most everything right at 126.3, just to take ahead of the low there. Now, you could argue that, maybe you want to go a couple contracts a little bit lower. That's definitely a possibility. Maybe take one contract and adjust it back down to these lows. The problem with that is because this market is so liquid, there's so much volume trading on the notes that it's hard to get filled to the tick down here at the lows. So if you are going to go for a little bit of a bigger target, you're better off just kind of going one up, 126.29 up here, and seeing if that will get you that fill that you're looking for. With this fake break that we're seeing at the highs of consolidation, it wouldn't be a huge surprise to see this come through the lows and potentially break lower. So this low back here at 126.285, you could potentially drop it on there, expecting that it's probably going to be broken. So we'll leave it as is, 126.285, but just understand a more conservative target is going one tick ahead of that at 126.29. So if you're not familiar with the 10-year notes, these are kind of a funky market, but the way they work is every tick in this case is 1/32 of a point. So you'll notice you have 127 even, which is where we're short, goes up to 27.005. That means that it's 1/32 basically. And this goes all the way up until you fill that kind of 30-second benchmark. Now, again, it's 1/2 of 1/32 of a point. So without getting too complicated, you can pull it up on bar chart or your broker's website and get all of the very deep specifics. But just the way that it ticks, just understand that it ticks in 1/2 of 1/32. So essentially kind of 1/64th, if you will. So looking at the overall price per tick on this one, it is higher. You're actually looking at $15.62.5 per contract. It's rounded up, so you could say $15.63, but they like giving you the specifics. Again, if you want the deep in specifics, go to bar chart or check your broker and they'll break it down for you, everything you need to know. All we need to know is we're looking at a fade off of a fake break of the highs and a downtrend. So that's kind of what we're looking for right now. Stop is up at 127.25. That gives us one tick above the highs. If this isn't going to work out, that's going to be kind of the drop dead area where we should start seeing this reverse. The overall target, we're taking 5 off down here at 126.30. So if we do get that filled, 20 basically means that it's 4 ticks. Again, divide each one by 5. So 20, that's going to be 4 ticks there. And then we're looking continued down, 5, 6, 7. We're looking at a 7-tick final target down here. So the very specifics of if you do get this filled, 5 off at 4 is 20 ticks, plus another 7 times 15.625, right? So technically the trade would be $421.87.5. Again, they round up a little bit, but again, just giving you the specifics here. Now, this market is very slow, so we'll be back in a little bit. We'll give it some time. It's probably not going to, even if we were ahead of this trade by 6 hours, it's not going to fill us to the tick, just because there's so much volume, but we'll give it a little bit of time. We'll see if it can push back down to the lows. 126.30 is their first target, then looking down to 126.285 for the next. So we'll be back in a little bit and see if we can get that push lower. All right, we're coming down and we're testing our target here, 126.30. Again, with the notes, you're almost never going to fill on the first test. It's just not going to happen. You can see it's sitting on our target, no fill, no fill, no fill. It's got to filter through a lot of orders before it gets to yours. So don't be surprised, if it hits it and then bounces a little bit, hits it and then bounces a little bit. The only time you're really guaranteed to get a fill in the notes, it's kind of like the S&P. It's got to tick through it before you get that fill. Usually if you get your fill to the tick, it's going to tick through shortly. So it's just kind of the way that the market works. But we are hitting our target right now. Because we're hitting our target, obviously haven't filled it yet. There we go. And you can see it tick through it. See how it filled me then? So that's kind of what you're looking for in this market. So what we can do now, since we have our tick through, we'll move our stop down a little bit. We'll go to break even +1 like we always do. And we'll just kind of leave it sit for now. You know, we've got plenty of traction on the trade so far. Got 5 off at that first target. And again, the way that it works out, you saw that profit on that trade. Because they round up on that, we actually ended up banking $312.50. Remember, they round up on that last part. So 5 contracts off at 4 ticks, looking for a final runner just as an expansion down to the lows, 126.285. So again, it may take a little bit of time for the market to get down there. You saw how long it took just to fill our order. It didn't fill it until it was going to tick through. So we'll give it a little bit of time. We have our primary objective met. Now we're just looking a little bit farther down, but I wanted to display the price per tick over here on the right so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So you can see some funky numbers show up in that little area there as it's moving around. So we'll be back in a little bit. We hit our objective. Now we're just looking for a little bit of a push down, hit that 126.285 and see if we can get done with the trade. Yeah, so we'll be back in a little bit. It'll probably be, you know, another 5, 10, 15 minutes before we get back down there. So we'll be back. All right, we're coming down. We're testing our final target here. Got a tick test of it. Again, it's probably not going to fill unless it breaks through. Now, the conservative traders that took their profit at 126.29, you got filled. So keep that in mind. Again, I am expecting this low to be broken at least by a tick. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it tick down to 126.28. But, you know, again, this is kind of the difference between being conservative and being an aggressive trader. Now, because we're hitting our target, I don't want this to back up on me. So I'm going to go back to this previous candle's high and then just lock in a little bit more there just to be safe. Now, again, you could actually push down and lock into to that full 4 ticks, but based on what we're seeing right now, we really can't do that. I just need to see a little bit more follow through and actually hit this target at 26.28.5 and break through it. And that's kind of the key right now. And you can see it's fluctuating around. This is the fun part about trading notes. This is why we don't highlight it too often, because it's kind of a slow market, a little bit boring in a sense, but great price per tick and pretty low margin. So it's a nice little market to trade for sure. Just, you know, a little bit slower. It's definitely those for those of you who aren't big into those crude oil markets, those fast movers. This is a great alternative. It's quite slow, but it does pay quite well. So we'll be back in a little bit. Hopefully it'll fill this target relatively soon here, 26.28.5. We're testing it again. See if it can tick through it here. Hopefully we won't have to pause the video too long. There we go. So we got that filled. Did fill it to the tick, but you'll see usually when it does that, it's going to tick through shortly thereafter. So we tick through it, guaranteed fill at the least. So beautiful little move down. The way that it worked out, again, because it's rounded up, we put away $421.88 on the trade. I know, kind of funky again, but overall, great trade. Pretty slow, but, you know, looking at it in the long way, I mean, we got short at 825, well, 820, and it only took about 3-4 candles to get down to our target. So not too bad. You know, 20-30 minute trade on the notes is pretty quick, if you ask me, based on what you're seeing right here. So that's going to be the trade for today. $421.88 on the trade. I love that number. If you have any questions about it, feel free to send an email to School of Trade. Don't forget to check out our trial at schooloftrade.com. And as always, we'll catch you next time.